Hi everyone and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richards and I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in southern Tasmania. Bear with me for a minute, I'm just going to catch up with my iPad so I can watch the chat and everything. I hope everyone manages to find me because this is a slightly different, slightly different address to the one I actually advertised on my Facebook page. So anyway, let's see how we go. I'm just sort of trying to catch up here. Hope it's not too loud or too something. Here we go. Live now. Let's have a little look. I don't know that I like that colour very much. This is my first video with my new webcam, so I'm actually hoping that it's going to actually work. I'm not hearing anything, which is a bit of a worry. Bear with me for a second. I did give it my microphone. If anyone's watching, can you put in chat whether you can hear me at all? I'm not hearing anything with my iPad. Can anyone hear me? Type something. That's a bit of a worry. Okay, is anyone? Hello, you can hear me just fine. Oh, lovely. Thank you very much for that, Ineki. Thank you. Great. So, well, let's get crafting. This must just be something to do with my iPad that's not behaving itself very well. We'll see as we go. Okay. Oh, there you go. No, it was my iPad. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 cards, as it says in the intro. I'm going to do 3 cards with the Tasteful Touches stamp set and the matching dies. I did a series like this about a year ago where I did 3 cards. That's not the dies. I did 3 cards with a particular stamp set. And each of them was a little bit stepped up from the previous one. So I started with a card that would be good for a beginner, and I then stepped it up to make it more complicated and a little bit more blingy, which is what, for a more experienced card maker. So, okay, so that's great. So this is the stamp set. It's got some lovely images there. They are actually, you don't have to colour them in because they make a nice sort of colour on their own, but you can actually colour in the flower if you want to. I'll show you it a little bit later on. I have everything cut out so you don't have to sit here and watch me cutting things. I've got a little bit distracted because I did have the dies with me and now they've disappeared, so I must have put them back. Here we are, that's them. They're the dies. So the dies don't actually cut out the images from the stamp set. They are actually just some really nice labels. So I've used this one on one of our cards, but they're just very general shaped, very handy sentiment boxes and labels that you can use. I think I'm going to use this round one. I think would be lovely in gold, so I'll give that one a bit of a go next. But so that's very, very handy. You could buy that on its own, and it would just be one of those stamp sets that you go back to again and again and again. Okay, so let's start. So we'll start with our simple card, our beginner card. And when I have classes, I like to start people off with something a little bit like this. And when I say beginner, it doesn't have to be bland. It doesn't have to be two-dimensional. It can be pretty special. So what I've got here is what I'd call my beginner card. And I'm a little bit sick of pinks at the moment. There's been a lot of pink and there's also been a lot of Christmas bling. So this one, I actually decided to go a little bit different with the colours. So we are actually using, for all 3 cards, you'll notice I use when I do this sort of thing, I tend to use the same theme. I'm using Night of Navy, Grey Granite and Pear Pizzazz. So they're the 3 colours that I'm featuring, and I'll step that up with all 3 cards. So this is my beginner's card. I might just take my glasses off. It's one of those halfway things where I can't see, and I can't see too close and I can't see too far away. So anyway, here we go. So this is the beginner card. It's my standard card base, which is 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, and it's scored at 4 1/8 inch in the centre there. That gives my standard size card. I use the nice thick card base for my cardstock for my card bases because it's just structurally a little bit more solid, and it'll actually stand up a little bit better. So on that I have, and I'll bring it in. We can do it. Let's do it. Okay, so I've got my card base, as I mentioned, and I've got a panel of Night of Navy cardstock, and that's cut 1/4 of an inch smaller. So the border around the edge is a little bit bigger than my normal. So that would be 8, what do we say? That's 8 1/4, so 8, no, 5 and, gosh, I'm not with it today. Maybe I should start again. 5 1/2 by 3 7/8. Oh, goodness me. And then I've got a panel of the Whisper White, just normal Whisper White cardstock, which is 1/8 of an inch smaller. So that's just a very small border around there of the blue. And when I have beginners classes, I tend to, rather than asking them to stamp on the card base, I do give them a little extra piece of cardstock to stamp on, because it's actually, I mean, I think people are a little bit worried if it's their first time stamping and they're stamping straight onto the card base. They think they're going to ruin something that's expensive. So if they have just a little piece of cardstock like that, if they make a boo-boo, it's no great problem, mistake. They just can flip it over, or I can cut them a new one. There's no worries at all. So let's start some stamping, which is what we're all here for. Oh, you can see I keep all my bits there just in case. So I'm going to start with, this stamp set has this really lovely background, floral background stamp, and it is really nice just for a background, just to add a little bit of depth and interest to your card. So I'm going to stamp that, block that up. I'm going to do that in the grey granite, and I'm going to do it stamped off once, so it's only very, 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 very pale. So I'm going to stamp it off once onto my grid paper and then onto the card. I'm just going to let that sort of wander sort of up the side, up the center of the card, just to give a little bit of structure to our flower and leaves when we pop them on next. There we are. So just to put that there, just to as a bit of a background. And so that's, as I say, in the grey granite. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is bring in our very pretty flower. I didn't think I was going to like this stamp set, but the cards that I've done with it so far and the cards that I've seen all the other clever people doing sort of has changed my mind. I was thinking, oh goodness, not another flower. You know, but no, this is a nice one, and it's nice and simple too, because you don't really have to colour it in if you don't want to, which is what I'm not going to do with this one. I'm just going to pop this little flower here down towards the bottom, or bottom third left hand side of my card. There we are. So I'll let you see that one come up into there. So it's just that blue sort of shading, and it does sort of give it lights and darks as well, so it's not too bad. You don't really have to colour it in. Just notice my computer is actually flipped backwards so that what's left is right and what's right is left. That's a bit off-putting. Okay, so after that I'm going to just clean that off a little bit. I'm going to bring in the leaves. And it has this really just nice sort of simple sort of pencil drawing almost of some nice little leaves there. Pop those on a block, and I'm going to do those in Pear Pizzazz, my favourite, my go-to. I'm just going to frame our little flower here with these leaves. I'm just going to come up the top like this, just like that, and then bringing them around the bottom. And it doesn't matter if you go over the flower a little bit, because this is, as I say, this is beginning stamping, so you know, we just need we need success for our beginners. Okay, so that's coming together nicely. I quite like that. Just watching the comments. Thanks everyone who's on. Oh, we've got lots from all over the place. Thank you, guys. So I'm going back briefly to our Night of Navy, and I'm going to use the sentiments just saying hello, which is quite cute. And I mean, you can use that for just about any sort of event, birthday, just because. I might get a slightly bigger block. Forgive that noise. Yes, so my son, who's 22 nearly, went onto line and bought me my webcam. So I think he got sick of me complaining about my phone and the lack of noise and the terrible definition. So yes, so we'll see how the webcam goes. Unfortunately, it means it's got cords everywhere here at the moment. So it's a good thing you can't see off screen because there's cords going all over the place. So I'm just going to add this little sentiment here, just up the top. Might bring that a bit closer to me just briefly so I can get it straight. There we are. Just saying hello. And I don't think there's anything too difficult with that card. I think it's quite sweet, and I think it's a guaranteed success for a beginner. Okay, so I'm just going to layer that up, grab some glue. Pop this on here. Now, of course, if you were doing this card and you wanted to add some ribbon or some bling, of course you could, and we will actually add some extra elements in the next one. And then finally, the final card, if you hang around right to the very end, the final card is where I throw everything at it. So don't go away. There we are. So that card, I would say, I would pitch if I was having a class here, or if you're watching and you're just starting card making. That's like a perfectly lovely card with just some ink and some stamps and some cardstock. So hopefully you like that one. Deborah's saying this is one of my favourites. Yes, I think it may become one of my favourites, Deborah. It wasn't, as I mentioned earlier on, it wasn't to start with, but it's definitely growing on me. It's funny, isn't it? You see a stamp set and then you think, oh, no, not really me. And then you look on Pinterest or YouTube and other people have done it and they've made it one of your favourites. So I think that's what's going to happen here. Anyway, so that's our first card of our three. So that's what I would call for somebody who is beginning stamping. And if you are beginning stamping and you live in Australia and you like what you see and you'd like to know anything else about Stampin' Up, please send me a message or go over to my Facebook page, which there are links all over the place. Okay, this is my second card. As you can see, I'm using the same colours as mentioned. I'm even actually using the same card base and layers, but I've added some extra elements, and we've got some fussy cutting to do here. And I was going to do it before I came on, but I didn't. Oops. So you're going to have to sit here and watch me fussy cut, guys. So go and grab a coffee. Okay, so let's go. So again, this one is stepped up a little bit. We have some fussy cutting, we have some bling, and we have the sentiment here popped up on some dimensionals. So let's give this one a go too. Oh no, I did cut them out. You're safe. You don't have to watch me fussy cutting. So here we have our card base. I'm going to pop that aside for the minute, and our Night of Navy, same dimensions as the first card. And then we have our Whisper White for stamping. So we'll go back to our same colours. This might get quite monotonous for you guys, but I promise you the last card is a bit different. Same colours, but different fold and everything. Okay, so we've got our grey granite. We're going to bring back in that pretty background stamp again. And this time I'm going to stamp it off also. But I'm going to bring it from the left-hand bottom corner. I'm going to form sort of like a diagonal background with it. I'm going to go all the way up. Bit exciting here at the moment. My son and his fiance moved in with us just before Christmas, and obviously got stuck here with us when the virus hit, the pandemic hit, and they've been saving. They've been using as a good opportunity to save money. Life gives you lemons and all, so they've been making lemonade or saving some nice deposit for a house. And we went and looked at our first house yesterday, which was absolutely wonderful. I would have wanted it for myself. It's a little bit out of their price range, so we would have had to help them if they'd got it. But unfortunately, it was so wonderful that somebody had already put in an offer, so we missed out on that one. But it's really, really nice to finally get some progress and start looking forward and try and make some positive out of the last 9 months or so. So it was a really lovely house, and they would have had a little flat downstairs that the people were renting out, so that would have helped them with the money as well. But anyway, it wasn't to be. There'll be something just as good around the corner. Okay, so we've stamped our background there. You can see I've taken it up there with a little bit over to the side. Then I'm going to bring in our leaves, and again with my Pear Pizzazz. Should have left it on the block, shouldn't I? That was a bit silly. So the leaves, I'm going to also follow that sort of diagonal feel. So I'm going to put a full strength one towards the bottom, or my way, that's left. That might be right on you. So bottom right for you. And then a half strength one without even re-inking in there. And then I'm going to put the full strength one up that side, which has, again, I think it's my left, but it's your right, I think. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's just my computer that's turned around. Oh, sorry, that meant to be half strength. And then half strength just there because I just dropped my ink. Anyway, that'll be covered over, don't worry. And a half strength up there. Okay, so that's a bit of a mess, but it will be covered, that middle part. So we just really want those green flowers sort of poking out the edge of what happens next. Okay, so I have actually cut 2 little flowers here. So I've cut them in stamped them in the Night of Navy, and I have fussy cut them out. So there, it's not too bad. I hear everyone groan and say, oh no, not fussy cutting, but it's not too bad. It's a nice, nice sort of uniform shapes. There's nothing too fiddly there, and didn't take me hardly any time at all. So these are going to go on our card base. I'm going to put one pointing up and one pointing down. I should actually be looking at everyone who's come along for the ride. We've got Mary and Ineke. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Ineke, Deborah and Lorna. Sally. Hey, Sally. Sally's my local friend. And Terry. I think that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. And Francis from Florida, from Frenchie from Florida. Hey, thanks for joining me. So if you're on, just pop in and say hi. That would be great. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you get notifications the next time I'm going live. Okay, so we've got our 2 fussy cut flowers there. I'm not going to glue them down just yet because I want to put them in the right position for our sentiment. Now, this little sentiment box is 1 inch by the same width as your white cardstock so that's 3 and 7/8 wide. No, 3 3/4 long. And I'm just going to stamp that in the Night of Navy with one of the other sentiments from the bundle, which is this lovely one. The good things in life are better with you. So that's pretty good. We're always lucky if we've got somebody in our lives that we can say that about. And yeah, I'm going to practice that once I get off. I promise I'll have it right by the time you come back on. You've just given me the grammatic pronunciation of the name there. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp this sentiment as straight and as central as I possibly can. It's a little bit tricky with the angle, but the joy of handmade, that's not too bad. And get rid of that ink or it's a disaster waiting to happen. Then I'm going to position that so I know where to put my little flowers. So I want, as I say, I want one poking up the top and one poking down the bottom. It's roughly in the centre will cover over that mucky, messy cluster of leaves that I popped before. And there, so I think that's about right. Just pop those on. It's always the way, isn't it? You think you've got them right, and then you lift them up to put the glue on, and you can't remember where you were. So roughly, I think that was right. And thankfully, our glue will move for a little while, so I can actually make sure when I pop that back on that I've got enough of them sticking out. So you don't want to cover them up too much, but you don't want them completely hidden either. There we go. So glue's let me have a little bit of a wiggle. Now I'm going to bring in some dimensionals, which I had here a second ago and have popped away. No, that's not you. Yep, this is you. Just some dimensionals on there, just across the middle. Oops. There we are. Go away. And then we'll pop it on there like that. Okay. Right, so then we're going to layer this up. So we'll pop that one onto our Night of Navy. There we are. And then that onto our card base. There we are. Juliana, my mum calls it, so we're saying here that your king's grandmother was called Juliana. She wanted to be a normal person. Yeah, well, yes, my mum calls me Juliana. That's just her little spin on it. Yes, I don't know where the name came from. I think she said once to me she heard a lady yelling it out in the supermarket and thought it sounded nice, so she went with it. But maybe she named me after your king's grandmother, maybe. I doubt it. I doubt she would have heard of that here in Little Tassie back in the 60s. But anyway, I can always dream. Maybe I'm actually descended from royalty. Okay, so there we've got that all popped together there, and I'm going to just give it a little bit of bling, just with some basic rhinestones, and just where did you go? You fell off. Just with some basic, just with some bling, just to give it a bit of specialness. They're not going to behave themselves, are they? We'll pop one down in here on the sentiment. Slightly larger one over here. And a nice big one up here. There we are. Okay, so that is a little bit stepped up from our first card. We've got some bling, we've got some fussy cutting, don't moan. We've got, our sentiment up on dimensionals. So, you know, that's like that step up a little bit more from our first basic card, which I think just adds that little bit of extra, something special to the design. I like that one. I think actually sometimes I make these and I find that the intermediate one, the casual crafter one, anyone who's in Stampin' Up knows that that's what the middle people are called. I often find they are my favourites. So I don't know what you think about that one. Hopefully you like it. She was the queen in the 60s, so perhaps, well, maybe Mum did pick it up from there. Maybe. I'd like to think. Anyway, oh, okay. I just bumped everything. Apologies if it wobbled. Okay, so let's go on to our card number 3. This is the one that I would call sort of like an advanced stamper. This is the first one I made, the prototype, so to speak. I've got some die cuts from the Forever Ferns stamp set there, so you probably recognise those if you've seen that set. It's got some in vellum and some in blue Night of Navy cardstock. There's one of those beautiful sentiment boxes from the bundle that we're using, and our flower and our little background pieces as well. So I made this one. It's probably what you'd call a gate card or gatefold or something like that. But I thought I'd make a slight variation on this one for the one I'm going to show you. Will be slightly different. I've also used the designer series paper. The designer series paper with this suite is wonderful, and it's disappeared. Oh, here it is. I've been making card kits for my upcoming classes today, and I've got stuff everywhere, so it's a good thing you can't see. So I'm using this designer series paper here, which is the In Good Taste designer series paper. So it's obviously all matched with the stamp set and the dies that we're using, but it's got some lovely sort of wood tone, and there's a lot of it here. It feels like there's a lot more sort of wood tone, bricks, you know, sort of textures, that sort of thing. Just really sort of earthy, good stuff for this stamp set, which I think fits perfectly. So okay, so we're going to be doing something like this one, but a slight variation. So here we go. So this, I say, this is the more advanced card that I've designed. Okay, so the first card had the cut vertically. Yes, vertically. So it opened like that. This one I've actually cut the front of the card off. So we've got like a little horizontal door. It's like a barn door. So if this hasn't been invented already, I'm calling it a barn door card. There you go. Someone's going to tell me it's been invented already, but anyway, we'll call it mine for now. So that's my normal card base. Again, getting a bit boring with that. 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. And I have just cut it halfway and then out. So I've taken the cuts sort of, I think it's 2 7/8 down, and then cut straight out. So you've got a bit of a barn door happening. I've got a layer of, and this time this is actually going to go inside. So this is not going to be a nude card. It's got a layer of the Night of Navy and a layer of the Whisper White there. Someone's just come into my kitchen, so I better close my door. Bear with me for a second. I don't want them to think they have to sneak around and be quiet, so I'll close the door. Okay, so they're going to sit on the inside there. Well, on the outside, I have another layer of Night of Navy, and that's cut just to go or to fit in that little barn door. I might open it up so you can see it against the grid paper and it won't be so confusing. So that's that would be 3 7/8 long and 2 5/8 high. So there, I might pop all the measurements for this one in the comments if anyone's interested in seeing them. Just give me a thumbs up or something and I'll pop them in there. Okay, then I've got a piece of the designer series paper, and that's cut 1/8 of an inch smaller than the Night of Navy. So that's just going to sit over the top of that like that. Then I have, and these have been cut with the stitched rectangles. I've got a stitched rectangle in Whisper White. I'm going to sit that on there. And the next size down, stitched rectangle in the Night of Navy, and that's going to sit on there. And this is going to be where we're going to do all our decorating. Okay, so I'll pop that aside for a second. I'll keep these two and pop the rest away. Okay, I have cut all this stuff out again, so guys, so you don't have to sit and watch me stamp. And if you've watched me before, you realise that I don't bring my die cutting machine into the camera because it wobbles too much and causes everyone some terrible seasickness. So as I mentioned, I'm using the beautiful fern fronds and leaves from the Forever Flourishes. So this is with the greenery suite. So if you've seen this one, that's really lovely. It's one of my favourites. I think Sally will probably laugh. I do have some go-to. Sally, who's still watching, comes to my classes, and she every time I present a card, she'll go, oh, "You've brought the favourites out again." So it's usually the Stitched So Sweetly, but the Forever Fern as well is going to make a few appearances. So I've cut 2 of these lovely big fronds, these leaves, in vellum. So this is in just plain opaque vellum. Then I've got another leaf in Night of Navy. So that's just another leaf from the floral Forever Fern suite. And then I've stamped, so these are from the stamp set as well. So you're getting a bit of everything out of that one. these leaves and die cut them, and these are in grey granite as well. So I'm going to use those as well. Then, as I say, we have our flower, and I have already stamped and fussy cut that out. So that's all done. And as I said, this beautiful designed stitched label here, which we're going to use to top it all off with. Okay, so where to begin? Even though it's different, I will keep an eye on my other cards so I don't go ploughing off into disastrous territory. I'm going to just put those two together so I've got a bit more of a base to work upon. I say, if anyone's watching and they haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I think you can actually do it by pressing the little icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So please do so if you've enjoyed today or this morning. I've actually got a Zoom card party this afternoon as well, so it's quite a big day in Stampin' Up for me. We're going to make a couple of cards by Zoom since it's about as close as we can get with some of our friends at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to bring these vellum ones in. I'm going to have them going sort of from the top corner down to the bottom corner, a bit like that. So this is sort of following, as you probably realise, following the design from the second card, having having the decorations go sort of horizontal, diagonally across the page. So just tiny bits of glue there. You don't need a lot because it's going to have things on top of it. And I want it to slightly overlap the edge. I don't know if you can see that. The leaves are overlapping. Now, normally I wouldn't use glue on vellum because it looks a bit weird, but because this is going to all be covered over eventually anyway, it's just touches of glue are okay. I'll put that one up here. I'm going to bring in a darker background. You might be able to see better. What have we got? Just a piece of cardstock. Maybe that'd work better. How's that? Is that better? Maybe. Anyway, tell me if it's worse and I'll take it away. Oh, okay, so it's getting a bit sticky already. Okay, so we've got that there. And I'm going to bring in the blue little flowers that I've made, and this is probably not good against the blue background, but anyway. And again, just touches of glue on the back. You don't need too much. You need archaeologists digging up our cards in 500 years' time and finding them still intact. They really are to give pleasure in the moment. Well, that's my view. Although my mum's got every card I ever made her, I think, so probably they will dig up my mum's house in years to come and find them. Anyway. And then we'll pop this one down here. Oop. Saying you don't need much glue, I have actually got glue everywhere, as you'd probably expect. Okay, so let's do that. Right, okay, then we're going to bring in our die cuts. I'm going to pop this beautiful big one up here, up the top, so I'm nestling it in with our other little flowers, other little leaves, I mean. Bring him right up there. This one has quite a long stalk, so I often find that stem, so I often find that I need to sort of trim it off if I'm popping it in behind things, but I think we'll be right today. We've got quite a layer of things happening here, haven't we? And then I have this other little leaf, which is my favourite. I think you're saying yeah, my favourite too. Okay, so, and I'm going to bring that one so it just pops in up under, but I might leave him unglued because I need to put him in the right position. Okay, so I might do some stamping. There is some stamping involved with this card, I promise. I'm going to bring in our lovely background, which is probably still on a block somewhere. Here it is. And again, grey granite. And again, stamped off once. And I'm just going to sneak that in on either edges of our little sentiment box there, just just a hint on the corners, just like that. Okay, that's the last time we need that one. And I'll do the sentiment while I'm here. I've used the You Are, so we're going to use them all out of the set, the You Are So Special sentiment from the set. And again, I'm going to use the lovely dark Night of Navy. A smaller block for that one, don't need to go too crazy. If I've got one. Are you a bit too small? Yeah, you're a bit too small. Might stick with this one. Okay, so Night of Navy, and I'm going to stamp this slightly to the left so that we can bring in our pretty flower eventually. So full strength Night of Navy. I always line it up with my grid paper so I know I'm as straight as I can be at this funny angle. There we are. You Are So Special. That's so nice. We all need to be told that now and then. Okay, and then so what we might do is we might start putting everything together now, I think. Pop that aside for the moment to dry some of that incredible amount of glue that I've used. And we'll layer up. We'll make our little barn door here. Is that what I decided to call it? A barn door card. There you are. You've seen it here first, guys. And then our designer series paper. There we are. Then we might bring in our decorated panel. It's all ready to go. I'm going to pop that there. So it's sort of, when I close the card, it's sort of central to the card base itself. So it's a bit like that. So I'm going to only put glue on that sort of bottom third there. So it's good to get the idea of where it's going to go. So just glue on that bottom third. Because you don't want it gluing itself to the center of your card. There we go. You guys will have to tell me which one you prefer when I finish, the one with the like little vertical gate or this horizontal one. Okay, so that's there like that. Bring in our sentiment box. So I'm going to put the sentiment up on dimensionals just to give it a little bit, actually it's more actually just to give it a bit of space away from that huge amount of decorating that we've got underneath there, because I don't think it would sit straight if I actually popped it on any other way. So it's going to be half on and half off. So I'm just sort of taking note of that. So the dimensionals are going to have to go on the lower parts of it, on there, on the very ends, because it's sort of overlapping the edge of the card further up. And then I can pop them also, yeah, up here. There we are. So just be a bit careful when you're doing that. You don't want to put dimensionals where you don't end up having a a backing behind them. We'll pop that one on there. There we are. We'll bring in our little flower. So our flower is going to sit off the edge there, and with just a tiny bit of glue on its sort of lower part. Just like that. There's a lot happening off the edge of this card. There's a lot of overlap happening, so you've got to be a little bit careful. Definitely not one the archaeologists are going to be picking up in years to come, I don't think. Okay, so I will put those, this little one here that I said I was going to tuck up under, I'll work out where I can put him now. So some glue on him, and I just wanted to tuck him up under the bottom. Assuming I've got room under my dimensionals, tuck him up under so he's just sneaking out. There we go, that's perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, so final steps, I'll layer the inside. I think it's a little bit plain behind there, so that's why we layer it with these ones inside. And I haven't thought about it. I wonder if we could stamp on this white behind. Let's have a think. When I see it on, I'll tell you. Will you tell me? What do you think? Just leave it plain. There we are. Yeah, no, I think plain's nice, actually. Just leave it plain. No, I was thinking maybe I'd stamp something up around here. But I think that's okay. I think we'll leave it at that. Sometimes I tend to overdo things and I look at it and go, no, you just took that a little bit too far. We're going to bring in our nice shiny rhinestones again. And I'm going to pop one up in here. Just sneaking in between the leaves. We've got, hang on, I have to make sure I am sneaking them. Yep, so just on there, just in between those little leaves. And a nice middle-sized one. Middle-sized one over here. So I'm just, this is straight from my original card, nothing too original here. And then another one up over here. Okay. So that one's done. As you can see, that's got a bit of everything on that one. That's a bit one of everything. Yeah, so as I say, that's probably the more advanced, the more avid crafter there, with a bit of everything coming in from different suites and different cuts as well. Okay, so which do we prefer? I know which one I prefer. What we reckon? You just say in the comments which one, the horizontal one or the vertical one. So I'd call that the horizontal one and I'd call that the vertical cut. What do we reckon? Okay, no one's going to. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it. Anyway, okay, so that they are my 3 cards today. So Sally likes the vertical. You always tend to go opposite to me, Sally Mansfield. We complement each other, don't we? Okay, so they are my 3 cards for today. I'll bring in the other 2. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined and everyone who comes in to watch the replay. It'll be up fairly soon, and I will put the dimensions for, the cutting dimensions for this, stop moving, for this last one. But I mean, as I say, all card bases are the same and all layers are the same. It's just the treatment that we've given them that is slightly different today. So we have our, what I would call my beginner card, my intermediate or casual card, and my more advanced card there. So that's the 3. And as you can see, this stamp set, which I'll close up quickly so you can't see how messy it is inside, is just basically so it's basically so versatile. You've just, I mean, you can see there I have used the same colors and the same sort of basic design to give us 3 very different looks. And I just love it. I think we're going to try this this feather here next. I think I quite like feathers, so we'll give that a little go in the next video. So as I say, that's all I have for you today. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you live in Australia and you haven't got a demonstrator, please consider giving, and you'd like to know more, just drop me a message over on my Facebook page. But it's been great to have everyone join me today. I'll probably go live again next weekend. It tends to be a weekend by weekend thing because I work during the week in the day job, unfortunately. But I'll see you all again next weekend. Okay, thanks again. Bye, guys.